Now that we've covered the basics of vocal and instrumental counterpoint, the student should have achieved a certain fluency. It's time to move on to fugue. Fugue is the culmination of counterpoint study, and it's the best way to learn several things that are essential to a professional composer. Why? First, fugue is the home of the most advanced contrapuntal techniques. If you can write a fugue with ease, you can handle pretty much any contrapuntal situations you'll encounter. Second, fugue is the place where counterpoint and form meet. A fugue is a contrapuntal composition that focuses on one or two ideas in a continuous way, developing them in a kind of discussion between the participants. This kind of intensive development is useful even in non-contrapuntal pieces. Controlled building toward a climax that's typical of a fugue is also a critical skill in building other musical forms, as is the ability to satisfactorily conclude after such a climax. Finally, since a fugue normally has no major contrasts, it requires creating interest entirely through details of line, harmony, and texture. Again, this skill is useful in any musical form. It also helps the composer to see potential combinations of material which might otherwise escape notice. Our study of fugue will cover the following subjects: invertible counterpoint and counter subjects, tonal answer and the fugal exposition, construction of episodes, internal entries and the overall structure of the fugue, including possible stretti, and finally, climax and cadence. Now let's look at the basic concepts in fugue. The coming lessons will discuss how to do these things in detail. A fugue starts with an exposition, where each voice in turn presents the subject, the theme. The subject is followed by an answer, and the second voice, which is just the theme, now transposed to the dominant. The exposition is an excellent way for the listener to become familiar with the musical material that will be developed later. The exposition also results in a natural crescendo of intensity, since the number of voices gradually increases. The subject sometimes has a counter subject, another theme, combined regularly with the first one, highlighting it through contrast. The two themes are in invertible counterpoint, which means that they can appear in any combination of voices with either one in the bass and still make harmonic sense. Once all the voices have entered, the exposition is over, and move into the body of the fugue, which normally alternates between entries or groups of entries of the subject and counter subject in various keys, and episodes. An episode is a section where the theme doesn't appear complete. Episodes are based on fragments of the subject and counter subject, usually in sequence. Very often the episodes will have one voice resting. The next entry of the subject will appear in the voice that's been silent for a while. Thus, episodes are usually less intense. They allow the texture to breathe. After showing off the musical material in various harmonic and contrapuntal contexts, with entries and episodes in various keys, the fugue reaches a climax of intensity and then concludes with a sense of resolution. Some fugues also contain stretti. A stretto is simply an impatient imitation of the subject or counter subject. Instead of politely waiting for the first voice to complete the subject and then restate it, the new voice jumps in early, interrupting the first one. This can happen several times, and it creates a kind of musical impatience and intensity. Now let's listen to a Bach fugue to see all these things in action. The fugue we're looking at here is the G minor fugue from the second book of Bach's Well-Tempered Clavier. In the next lesson, we'll look at invertible counterpoint and counter subjects in detail. Here are some exercises to be done with various fugues from Bach's Well-Tempered Clavier. 1. Sing or play the subject and follow its entries through the fugue. 2. Is there a counter subject? If so, sing or play it and follow it through the fugue. 3. Where are the episodes? In what key do they start? In what key is the next entry? 4. Are there any stretti? 5. Where's the climax of the fugue? You may find occasional anomalies in some of these fugues. We'll have more to say about unusual fugal forms later in the course.